Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Eve Echoes. Tonight on the show we will be reviewing an important article written by the IrishWebster. He's a pretty vocal member of our community, alongside Bradrick of course, and well, he pretty much made a valid argument in terms of drones and armor links and what needs to be changed, at least what needs to be adjusted. Now, please take into consideration that this article was written before the balance patch, but given the fact that balance patch did not change much on this side of things, his argument is still on the spot and on the table. Me and Sheev have been starting to collaborate a lot lately, and we actually tried to cover this article in a podcast episode. Unfortunately, the audio of the recording got pretty much messed up, so we spent like an hour combing through this article and what IrishWebster is saying in here, and well, it was pretty disheartening, and we were kind of disappointed because we invested a lot of time into discussing and debating the topics that he wrote in here. Oh, and by the way, as I mentioned, me and Sheev, we've been collaborating pretty much lately. There's an impressive video that Sheev made in recent times, and it's called the Titania Disaster, and it's a New Eden story. It's the story of the Titania and the disaster that followed, well, mostly because of what Captain Morgan did. If you want to find out, do click on the link in the description below, because that's the link to the video of the tale. We've got voice acting, we've got all the shenanigans, it's pretty awesome, so I highly recommend you guys to watch it and enjoy it. Of course, we'll be having much more of these in the upcoming future, so if you're a fan of both of us, your dreams might have just been realized. So without any further ado, let's get over with the article itself, and let's analyze it, and let's actually review it and discuss what was written in here, because it's highly important and it makes a lot of sense. The title of the article is called Drone Bombs, Shield Free Modules, and Armor Link Parity, Necessary Adjustments. Now, this is the shortlist version that Too Long did not read, and it covers the most important topics of the article. We've got number 1, fundamentally fix the way drones are coded or remove them from the game and give us our SP back. I know it sounds scary, but we'll see that in a moment. Number 2, drone fleet spam is a result of mechanical imbalances between shield and armor guardians. Number 3, fixing this imbalance will remove the incentive and necessity for fleets to spam drones, reducing server stress load and improving stability and reducing disconnects. Number 4, the drone bomb is an awful solution to a problem that only exists as a function of the above issue. So let's review this quickly. About number 1, we found out recently that drones pretty much are coded as ships, which does make sense in a way. But it's highly important how these drones are implemented as ships. Well, I'm a software engineer and I've been doing a lot of coding since I was 7. Now, there's an important principle of object-oriented programming, and it's called Polymorphism and Inheritance. If you structure your objects, your classes, your whatever, into a well-structured hierarchy, you will end up with cool, individualized objects that can be used for various purposes without causing any stress or load on the system itself. And why am I talking about this? Because, well, if drones are configured to run as ships, the ships themselves, actually ships in Eve Echoes, have a lot of properties. Now, drones don't have a lot of properties. Actually, they share some similarities with ships, and that's why they're probably used as ships, but they are a smaller chunk of a ship. Now, it's relevant what I mentioned earlier, having a base object, like having a base for something that can be inherited to other stuff that are represented as bigger boxes. Take, for example, a house. You can define a house with just having 4 walls, a roof, some color, and a door and 2 windows. Now, this is your base object. from this, you can pretty much build anything you want, and you can make like apartment buildings. Why? Because you say that you have the house as a base object and inherit it into an apartment building that is your new object that inherits all the properties from the base object, and you just add your own properties additionally, like having multiple floors, having different configurations of the apartments inside the building, having multiple sided facade roof, or whatever. You can find any kind of property that you can add to your new object that inherits the base object that is house. Now, going back to drones, to our ship object, you can have a simple ship object that contains so few properties that would not cause a lot of stress on the server, right? If you have the drone that inherits the base object, which is a ship, then you would have some base properties plus additional properties that are only specific for drones. And you won't mix them up together with the rest of the ships, which have even more properties, like the bigger and bigger ships like cruisers and destroyers and battle cruisers and battleships and carriers and dreadnoughts. Now, drones are just a simple entity, and you don't need them to be such a big box that covers so much memory. Yeah, because that's what it's all about. You don't want it to use too much memory. You only want to allocate as much as a drone would use. If it behaves like a ship and inherits all the properties of all the ships, whatever a ship might do, then you would end up with having a very big box occupying a large chunk of your RAM, but out of that big box, most of it is empty, and you only use like 5%, because that's what the properties for the drone represent. Object-oriented programming is pretty logical, and if you don't do it properly, you end up with situations which we might say are pretty similar to this one. So we don't know exactly how the drones are coded, we don't know exactly if they're represented as ships, but if they are, maybe they should think about redesigning that specific part and make them good as an entity of drones that inherit a base ship properties and not use too much RAM, cause too much stress on the server and on the client itself, because this issue is not just server side, this is dual side. It's a server and a client as well. The server having too many calculations to make, and the client needs to render too many stuff, and that's why you probably go into black screen, and then you get a disconnect, and then you're permanently black screen, and so on. Number 2 actually makes a really good point about drone fleet spam is a result of mechanical imbalances between shield and armor guardians. Yeah, because shield it behaves very differently than armor guardians in terms of how it protects the fleet mates. Now, shield guardians can protect an entire fleet. Actually, they can protect even more. It all comes down to how many people are inside the shield bubble, and you can fit as much as you like. If they're inside the bubble, they're protected by the shield guardian. Now, with armorlings, there's a problem, because armorlings don't work as a shield surrounding the player who activates it. The armorling just shares damage with the target in the same squad, situated in the same squad as the armor guardian. Now, how is that bad? Well, first of all, in terms of shield guardian, the logistic ships just need to keep the shield guardian alive, while the shield attributes like the resistances are passed on to the shield field, which is basically like an extension of the ship shield itself. It just bloats up and envelops everyone else inside. Now, with armorlings, the resistances do not carry over to armor, and the shared damage actually enables multiple targets to be damaged at once. Now, this might be okay. You won't be able to, let's say, alpha a target because it will share damage with the guardian it sits with, but that will just make logistical ships go crazy, and logistical pilots go insane, as they would need to keep in target not just the armor guardian, but the targets that are receiving, the primaries that are receiving damage as well. So number 3 actually refers to that we need a fix because we need to remove the server stress load and improve stability of the game client itself. Now for the drone bombs, and number 4, I totally agree with this. It's pretty obvious. The drone bombs, we still haven't received them yet. They were announced, they were teased, they were tested in, well, the Android version, whatever, but they weren't released. My initial fear was introducing something to counter the drone spam. The drone spam will not be countered. I mean, people are still going to be drone spamming. Of course, this will allow you to finish up some of the drones, but it's not going to be very efficient, so you need multiple people using these modules and multiple modules of these into ruining the drones useless. But guess what? Because drone spam is still a thing, that means the server is still under stress. So what happens when you introduce a bunch of ships with multiple of these drone bomb items that will activate constantly and deal area of effect damage to drones? Well, the server will need to make even more calculations, not just the calculations from the drones flying around, whatever they do, and damaging other ships like the enemy, but the drone bomb will have to force some calculations on the server, as multiple drones will need to receive some damage, and that's even more stress to the server. So, you get the drift. This is a patch to a fix that is a patch, and you know what happens if you just put a band-aid over a band-aid? Both band-aids will eventually rip off because they are not actually protecting the wound, or better said, they're not actually helping the body heal. And the body here is the game client itself and the servers and how the netcode is pretty much done. Let's move over to the next section, which is the balance shield and armor guardians. Number 1, remove the limitation of 1 active armor link module per squad. Yeah. Number 2, remove the armor link 10 ship maximum limitation and allow it to link to all ships within its range. Number 3, add resistances to armor links, just like we mentioned earlier. Number 4, slightly increase the base speed of armor ships. Number 5, slightly reduce the mass penalty received from equipping armor plates. And number 6, slightly reduce the power grid requirements of armor modules, especially armor plates. And now we go into a deep explanation of every point, and I encourage you all guys to watch this because it's a pretty well-made, strong argumented article, and it's quite educational. The drone bomb is a poorly conceived solution to NetEase problems, not ours. Drones are the meta in fleet engagements for exactly one reason. Shield field modules are hilariously OP. Drones get inside the shield field and can apply DPS to targets within the shield field bubble radius. This is the only reason that the drones are meta. Arguments. Player problems versus drones. Drones do meaningfully less damage than every other weapon type in the game, even adjusted to resistances. Yeah, and I'm a drone pilot. And I should be cursing my days and my life off, but yeah, it is what it is. Drones are literally the worst damage weapon platform in this game. I mean, it's below everything else. Drones do less damage both on paper and real applied damage adjusted for resistances than any other weapon in the game. I'm 555 in drone, small drone operation upgrade, and 554 in both medium and large drone operations and upgrade. I have 38 million SP invested just in drones. I actually have even more than him, and it still sucks. I've used them every day of the game, since beta until now. My drones do significantly less damage, 500 cold and nearly 1000 less hot at 554 large drone skills than my rail guns do on an equivalent rail ship with only 4 in large rails. Yeah, that's how much of a difference this is. Skilling into drones costs more SP than any other weapon in the game because of the drone skill. We've talked about this in our top 10 issues, in our drone issues. We've covered this in a lot of videos. You'll find it below. Large drones operation upgrade takes a similar amount SP to a large weapon upgrade to skill all the way. You need to upgrade this to be able to even use drones, not just to use them well. Yeah, because level 5 drones, you'll be able to field 5 drones. If you don't have that skill, you won't be able to field 5 drones. You'll be stuck with 4 or 3. So if you're drone boat and you have 5 drone tubes, you won't be able to use all the drone tubes. That's stupid. But it also actually makes sense, because drones have this skill that is a utility skill. So you have the 6 skills per every weapon type. But for drones, you have 3 more skills as utility. Now for the rest of the weapon types, you don't have an utility skill, which would make sense. It will be extremely useful to have one such skill for every other weapon type, like turret tracking, turret optimals, turret accuracy fall off. For missiles, to have control over explosion radius and explosion velocity. See, there's plenty of utility skills to be introduced. Yet they did some weird stuff, and they just melded a lot of skills from Evil Line together with the idea to simplify things, to make things easier for the mobile version. But this just actually, they shot themselves in the foot, because with the skill tree being revamped and redesigned to be much more easier, we're here in this situation in which the other weapon types don't have a utility skill. Drones do. Drones suck. Ergo, what the fuck are we even doing here? Once drone skills are complete though, you also need to spend SP to skill into another weapon type, since no drone ship in the game can rely only on drones to deal damage. That is severely correct. Every other kind of ship in the game can rely on a single weapon skill to do damage. Yeah, like autocannons, railguns, missiles, lasers. But this sets the SP cost to fly drone ships at over 250% SP it costs, while still doing less damage to fly any other kind of ship. This is the same regardless of which ship class you fly. Frigate, destroyer, cruiser, battlecruiser, or battleship. You have to train many millions of skill points into your secondary weapon type of all sizes if you wish to fly more than one class of ship. Now note that no drone ship receives a secondary bonus to any other weapon, other than the Grissa faction ships, which do use missiles plus drones. This is another issue for another time, but it's important to note as a point against anyone claiming drones to be OP. Yeah, drones are not OP. Drones are actually at the bottom of the food chain. They're crap. Not only in terms of damage, but also in terms of how you manage your drones, how easily you can manage them inside a fight, in space, how you can swap them. It's taking forever before you manage to swap some drones to be able to destroy an interceptor, and given the fact that you're in a battleship, well, you're probably already dead because you weren't able to swap in time to chase the interceptor away, and well, his buddies are pretty much right now on top of you and chewing up through your hull. Drones are destructible. No other weapon in the game can be targeted, let alone destroyed, without destroying the ship onto which they are fit. Flying drones can become extremely expensive, given how many of them you may lose in a fleet engagement, and they are not subject to insurance replacement unless they're in your drone hold when your ship goes boom, or actually fitted in your drone tubes. Yeah, those also get reimbursed. Depends if they blow up, because if they drop, you won't be able to get them back. Any lost in combat are gone forever. This means drone destruction, other people shooting down your drones, and must be rebuilt or purchased. Developer problems with drones. NetEase has poorly coded drones to operate exactly like ships, causing them to overload servers and create server instability, crashes, and massive disconnects among the player base. NetEase developed drones in exactly the same way as they did ships. The drone ship with 5 drones is causing the same server load as 6 ships. Benzi says it is difficult or impossible to avoid because of the very nature of how object-oriented programming handles code. No, you can do this. Very cool, very efficient, very well implemented. You just need to draw some stuff on a piece of paper first, think about it, and then implement it accordingly. It's called a logical design. And then you go ahead and make a physical design, then you make a demo, you test things out, and if you find that the findings are much better than the current system, then you have a fix to it. And object-oriented programming is actually not that hard, but it's not easy either. You'll just need to put your mind to it, just like any other job out there. Benzie does have one thing right though. It would take a fundamental reprogramming of drones in the game code to fix their server load issues. This would not be easy, but it is possible and is definitely the correct way to handle this issue. Instead, what NetEase has done is to devote developer resources to creating the drone bomb instead of actually fixing the fundamental underlying issues that make drones such a huge problem in the first place. It's exactly what we are talking about in the beginning. Either fix drones on a fundamental level, things that I've been asking for myself for the last 2 years, actually since the betas, when I criticized heavily on why the drones have been completely redesigned, why we don't have the bandwidth ship attribute which allows us to field drone. Instead, we are stuck with these drone tubes that are hard to manage, hard to do anything with them, and of course, just like replacing stuff in space is horrible. So either fix drones or remove them from the game and give us a complete SP refund for the associated skills. This unfortunately will not happen. Drones are here to stay, but they do need a complete overhaul and redesign. But we need to keep something in mind, that there might be a flip side to this coin, and that is the limitations of the engine. This is something that none of the content creators actually explored, and this is also something that the developers themselves did not mention. The fact that they're using a specific engine on which they ported Eve on mobile might have some limitations that force them to design drones in such a way that they cornered themselves into this situation. What I'm talking about, the ability to code some specific design properly using the context of the game engine. If the engine will not allow you to do certain modifications or like use it in a specific way that you would need it to behave, then you have a problem and you need to pull off some hacks in order to make something work. Now, if the current design of the drones is in fact a hack for them to actually function properly, then there might not be an easy way out, and a redesign might not even be possible. So in the end, the current state of the drones, them being redesigned and broken compared to the original drone feature from EVE Online, might be the very limitation of the game engine itself, because we need to understand that not every game engine can be applied to any game idea. This engine on which EVE Echoes is running was not specifically designed for EVE Echoes. It was designed to be an engine. How developers made it to work for EVE Echoes is an entire different story. Sector 3. Armor and Shield Guardian imbalance. NetEase can solve the problem that mass drone fleets represent for both themselves and players by implementing balance between existing mechanics without punishing players for spending millions of skill points in their chosen weapon type. So yeah, if you want to play drones, and it's going to be fine. Don't force me to play drones just because you picked a specific tanking method for your fleet. As we've covered, drones do substandard damage and come with many additional liabilities already, even without the drone bomb. Drones are used en masse in fleet engagement for one reason, and the reason alone: the absolute unchallenged dominance of shield guardians and shield field modules over armor guardians and armor links. This starts as a function of the ship defense skill itself. The skill gives a large percentage of VHP bonus to shield, then for armor at all levels except level 5 of basic, advanced and expert. The same is true of hull. Armor and holy HP bonuses from ship defense skill only receive equivalent percentage bonuses to shield at level 5 of basic, advanced and expert skills. This inherent imbalance is further exacerbated by the mechanics of shield and armor modules themselves. Shield field modules add resistances to shields just like harness do. This though is just like the cherry on top. The real kicker for shield fields is that they protect all ships within them from taking any incoming damage at all. This allows the Shield Guardian ship to tank all of the damage by itself, meaning that all logistical ships in that fleet can simply target and focus on boosting the shield effective hit points of one single ship. All reps can go on that ship, and so long as the fleet stays inside the shield bubble, it is possible to effectively render an infinite number of ships, any number of squads, fleets, and combined fleets essentially invulnerable to damage. NetEase has said that in this balance patch they've severely reduced the speed of ships with an active shield field module, and that's good. They said they're also reducing the resistance to that shield field, and which is also good, but neither of these measures are enough to bring parity between shield field modules and armor links, and in fact may make the fleet meta increasingly one-sided. Armor links do not add resistances to your armor tank at all. They're also extremely limited. You can only have one active armor link inside of each squad, but the armor link can only be attached to a maximum of 10 ships, all of which need to be in that Armor Guardian squad. Not only does this mean that you'll need more Armor Guardians in your fleet than your enemy will ever need using Shield Guardians, losing DPS in the process, but it will also mean that you'll need more Logi ships in an Armor Guardian fleet, since you still have to repair the armor of ships taking the initial damage. Only a percentage of the incoming damage gets transferred to the Armor Guardian, lessened by the initial ship's resistances. Because of this mechanic, all ships in an armor fleet will need to have a tank, further limiting the fitting options and again reducing their DPS. So an armor fleet needs more Armor Guardians, more logistic ships, and each ship needs to fit a tank, further reducing the DPS of armor fleets and for of inferior tank, with lower resistances, lower speed and higher power grid sections than a shield fleet, and requiring significantly more coordination for both Logis and Guardians. These incredibly loop-sided mechanics between Armor Guardian fleets and Shield Guardian fleets are what created the drone fleet meta. No one is using drones because they do more damage or have better range than turrets or missiles. No one is using drones because they're the most ISK-efficient option. And no one is using drones because they're the coolest SP to skill into. Fleets are utilizing drones because they're the only way of circumventing mechanics of a shield field module. I worded that very carefully. Drones are not the best way to defeat a shield field fleet. They are the only way. Armor ships are also slower than shield ships by default. They have more mass, lower base speed, and armor plates only slow you down even further. Armor ships also generally have lower maximum capacitor and power grid than shield ships, with some admitted crossover on armor ships that have laser bonuses, meaning that in a long, protracted battle, all battles using shield field necessarily become protracted battles. Shields win again. Despite armor using less cap, since shield ships have better cap regen, shields natively regen as well, a bit slowly, and can fit for this. The necessary fit to bring armor equals to shield in regen means that they sacrifice the speed necessary to catch up to the shield fleet. Admittedly, the changes to Shield Guardian speed, while a shield field module is active, may alter the speed imbalance, but unless the changes are made to armor link specifically, it won't matter. If we can't effectively sell all inside of a Shield Guardian fleet using drones, the shield fleet can easily split in this ship composition half and half between snipers and brawlers. The snipers can pick away at the oncoming enemy brawl fleet as they approach, focus firing and destroying ships, weakening the approaching fleet significantly before they are able to breach the shield field radius. Once they do breach that radius, the shield fleet's brawlers can tackle the oncoming brawlers to allow the sniper fleets to continue to damage, while the brawlers now fight 2-to-1 odds against the oncoming brawl fleet. My proposed changes help to address this. The solution: these changes with some tweaks for balance and server stability can fix the root of the problem, the pronounced imbalance between shield and armor guardians. Make shield, armor and hull bonus percentages equal to each other across all skill levels. Number 2, remove the limitations of one active armor link module per squad. Number 3, remove the armor link 10 ships maximum limitation and allow it to link to all ships within its range. Number 4, add resistances to armor links. Yeah. Number 5, slightly increase the base speed of armor ships. Number 6, slightly reduce the mass penalty receives from equipment armor plates. Number 7, slightly reduce the power grid requirements of armor modules, especially armor plates. That's it. That's literally how simple this is. If you bring balance to Armor Guardians, you remove the incentive to spam drones in fleet engagements, because you eliminate the OP shield field doctrine. If you remove the incentive to spam drones in fleet engagements, you reduce the stress load on the servers, and if you reduce the server load by eliminating drone spamming, you reduce server instability and disconnects. Thanks for your time, and I'll look forward to your feedback. What do you guys think? There's a couple of holes here and there, yeah, sure, but most of the stuff that is covered inside this article and what IrishWebster mentioned makes a lot of sense, and there's so much that can be done either via these recommendations or many others that others have put forward, either on Facebook, either on Reddit, either myself in the video that I made, not only me, but plenty of other content creators that have pointed out what's wrong with the game in terms of drones and armor shield tanking. How can we fix this? So far, we got some changes in the balanced patch, but they're not enough. The problem is still there. The drones are still a problem at their root core level, and the armor links, well, yeah, they're still crap, and they're not as good as shield field, even though the shield field modules are now preventing you from warping with the shield bubble on, but still, shield gets resistances from the ship's shield, and the shield field is much better, much better than armor links. So what do you guys think on these points? Do you agree with IrishWebster? You do not agree? Drop a comment below and let me know. That's it for today. I hope you guys learned something. Thank you guys for watching. Very big shout out to my channel supporters, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.